Welcome into the Coach Rush Propst Show as we broadcast live on this Tuesday evening here at City Market Grill and Buffet. Adam Stocks along with Lance Bowman, your broadcast crew for the Pell City Panthers, along with, of course, Rush Propst, head football coach for our Pell City Panthers. And can you guys hear us out there okay now? All right, there we go. I got the microphone on and the speakers on. Coach, as always, we appreciate you spending some time with us, and we'll kind of recap the Clay Chalkville game here for a couple of minutes. And we knew coming into the game that they were loaded. They got guys going Alabama, Auburn, Oregon, some other guys who have yet to sign, and you talked about it at the half and at the end of the ball game about how much talent they had, and just trying to keep up with them was really difficult on Friday night.
No, it was, man. I was hoping we weren't going to talk about that tonight. But, no, they got a good ball club. I mean, really over the last, I don't know, even when I left back, after the 07 season, Clay's been, knocking on the door and winning championships, and, they won them in 7A, and they won them in 6A, and they just won one in 21. So, they just got some athletes, and they know how to win. They have a winning culture. And then you throw in, 5 guys that can play in the SEC, and then several more that are, really good players that'll play at some level. It makes it very tough on us. And I think that, and I didn't know this until somebody told me this today, actually, that's the first time we've scored on them in 18 quarters. That's 4 years. I guess. 4 quarters per. Yeah. So that'd be over 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, and I think the difference is when the second half, especially when they went with their JV bunch and we kept our ones in, we sustained things in. We started playing on even keel, and we ended up being 7-7. At the end of the game for the second half, we got down 38-39 to nothing at halftime, and in the second half, they went JV only with a couple of guys, and a couple of guys started and stayed in there, and then we sort of hung with them a little bit in the second half. I thought we played a little better defensively, and thought we played a little better offensively, and finally scored with some time left. But no, we're ways away from competing with Clay Chalkville. There's just no question about it. But again, now you're measuring one of the top 4 best 6A programs in the state, maybe top 3. Who would be better? Saraland would be one, only because Ryan Williams, not because they won more than Clay, only because what they've got in the hopper. I would say you compare Theodore and of course I know Theodore very well from my days in Mobile, Clay Chalkville, and who would you maybe Spanish Fort. Maybe Oxford, but that's where you are. That's what we got to get to. We got to get to that level to compete on the 6A level. Now there's a 7A level that's even better than that. So, and I know that we got a long way to go, but I think we're going to turn the page here pretty soon.
Coach, when we talked post-game, you and I had a brief conversation about toughness. And I've thought about that conversation since then and some other things you said. And, obviously, football players, high school football, they're tough kids. And typically. And other teams have tough kids too. But I know the kind of toughness you're talking about is what separates a team. And talk a little bit about what that means and what you're looking for. You talk a lot about culture. So when it comes to toughness, what are those details that you're looking for in the kids that will bring the type of toughness into this culture that you're looking for?
Well, I got a guy that comes in and speaks to our team from time to time. He's a sports psychiatrist or sports psychologist. And we pay him to come in there, our Booster Club does, to talk about our kids and changing the culture, and where they don't just always hear it from Rush Propst. I think we all know Saban's been doing that for years. Kirby does it. A lot of programs do it, and I've done it. So, the one thing he talks about, is our word of the year is establish. We're trying to establish new things. One of those things, there's several values, core values that we believe in. One of them is to accept the grind, which is hard. The grind to football is very hard. That's not happened here in a long time, where there's been the grind of football. Secondly is the toughness that you're talking about is part of that that core value. And I think where we are with that is kids now, and I've noticed it in practice, is we get tired, and we start going into that shell to protect, because they can't push through that when you're very tired, you're beat up, you're sore, you're really we don't have that push yet that it takes to, anybody can play well or play pretty good when you're fresh and when you're not beat up and when it's not 95 degrees and all that kind of stuff, and when things are going your way. So how do you handle when things don't go your way? And I really believe that we've lost ball games to Moody and Leeds because when we hadn't been able to push through practice, and we haven't been able to win the fourth quarter at all. And so that's something that we've been hammering them on, and to just learn how to finish. Look, I just left practice with one series to go. Now, we've put them through the ringer this week. I mean, we got after it on Sunday with pads. We got after it yesterday in pads. We got after it today in pads. And we'll be back in the morning at 6 a.m. for a walkthrough, basically. Now it's 2 days to recover, and that's sort of the format of which I like. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday is more of a refresh day, a mental day, non-pad day, a non-contact day. It's all mental work. And it's done in the morning to where now you've got more than 48 hours. And trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of difference between going at 7, because we'll be in the morning at 6, be in film at 6:15. We'll leave about midnight, the coaches will tonight, to put our final plan together. And then we'll be back in about 5:15 in the morning. Kids will come about 6. We'll have them in film at 6:15 till 7:15, and we'll go out on the field for about 45 minutes. That's it. And it'll be fast, up-tempo, polish. In the mind, it's early. You're still beat up and sore. But when you're done, you walk off that field at 8:10, 8:05. And you got breakfast staring at you at 8:30. You don't have anything after school but ice baths, rehab, rest. There's 48 hours plus that extra 8 hours that you gave them, because you kicked 11. So 48 and 11, do the math. So 59 hours before you play. So in that 59 hours, yeah, that's right. So, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday, that's 48. 48 and 11, because you walk off field 8, you play at 7. So you got 59 hours to recoup your body. And people don't understand that, but it's so true. So now you flood your system with water, electrolytes, vitamins, food, rest, all the things that you need to do, because now that Wednesday afternoon, there's a lot of teams right now on Wednesday afternoon that'll go out there for an hour and 45 minutes in pads. Well, we got our hour and a half pad practice on Sunday. So that's an adjustment that they've never done. So that third day, and Coach Clark, Bill Clark, was at practice today, and we were sitting there talking, and he said, Rush, these kids ain't used to this. They've not ever done this. I said, no, Bill, they have not. And I said, so it goes back, like when he took over the Prattville job, I took over the Hoover job, all the jobs I've taken over. But it reminds me, he and I both talked about when Saban got to Alabama, how when you go watch him practice in 2007, that they could hardly walk off the field on a Thursday in Alabama, and then they'd go play on Saturday like it's in slow motion because they're so beat up and sore. But Saban was determined to reestablish a culture of how to practice the right way. And it's the same thing for us. We're trying to create, how do you practice productivity, the efficiency of practice, and look, I got a staff we hadn't worked together. So it's that intertwine of of that also. And there's still things that are not right. I mean, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, but we have to cultivate our day. I mean, like the course of the day. I think a lot of times Pell City has thought of football as a before and after school endeavor. In 6A, 7A football, it cannot be that way. You have to have your coaches available to critique practice during the day, during the school day. I'm not saying all 15 of them have got to have off periods all day long. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is the Hoovers of the world, the Thompsons of the world, the Vestavias of the world, the Oxfords of the world, Saraland, the Mountain Brooks, the Clay Chalkfuls, their bulk of their staff is free during the day to work on football. And so, and we've gotten better at that, and our system allowed us to do some of that. It's just not completely fixed yet, especially on the offensive side. So it takes time to get it all put together to where it works right, and I think that, that's where we are. And I think that it's still a work in progress, but I have seen this week a little bit more of a push, a little bit more, you know what, coach ain't going to back down, he's going to keep pushing us, so we better just accept it and go on attitude. So that part looked promising when I left the practice field a minute ago with 8 plays or 12 plays left in our daily script. Because we scripted 68 plays today, and I think I left at play 59 to come over here. So, but think about that. 68 plays, about what you run in a Friday night ball game. So, and we're struggling at the end. So that's why you see us struggling at the end on Friday night. So we've got to be able to finish it with a little better high note, a little bit better energy, and be able to execute play 58 through 68 on a Tuesday afternoon when you beat up and sore. If you can do that, then guess what? On Friday night, you're not going to lose the fourth quarter. You're going to be able to execute when you're tired. You're going to be able to push through it because you've done it in practice. So we're trying to get to that part in practice, and I hate to be critical of the past people that's been here, but that's just not been done here. And there's been a lot of sitting on knees and helmets off and, walk over here and walk over there and no sense of urgency, not detailed practice schedules, all those things that make you good. And here you got me and Bill Clark together. We've won 550 games together maybe. There's a lot of experience sitting out there on that field talking today, and he saw the same thing, and so that I see. So it's a work in progress, and it'll get there. It'll get there. It just takes time to cultivate that.
Now, you just gave a very long answer to part of the question I'm about to ask, and I'll kind of branch out from it. When Lance Bell was talking to you going into the locker room at the half and then at the end of the ball game, you reiterated you can't practice at 60% and expect to come out here on a Friday and play at 100%.
Right.
Is that, and again, you just gave a very detailed answer. Is that physical? Is it mental? Is it both? Is it classroom?
Both.
What all makes you push them to get that extra 40% where it's happening?
Well, it's because they've been groomed for so long the wrong way. And it was let to go too long, go too far too long, and now that culture has really been that way for quite some time, and now you're trying to break in a few months what's been the norm for the last several years, and so that doesn't happen overnight. And it's like if I tell you to put your foot on the line every time and you do it 70% of the time, but all of a sudden you say, well, what the heck if I put my foot on the line 25% of the time? Does that really matter? Yes, it matters. Every little detail matters. Every little detail matters. And as a football coach with the naked eye, I could tell, even watching Alabama play Saturday night, that there's things that they're doing in games that I've never seen them do. Head placement in tackling was pour Saturday night for Alabama. Never seen that. So there's a little bitty things that you think may not be that important that is very important. And so football is a very disciplined sport, and it's got to be played by very disciplined kids. And you have to, it's that old adage that if you're a five-star athlete, you got to play consistently as a five-star. If you're a four-star athlete, you got to play like a five-star. If you're a three-star athlete, you got to play like a four-star. If you're a two-star, you got to play like you're a three-star. And if you don't have any stars, you got to play like you got a star. So that's something I think I've been able to always do is get the most out of kids, and it's a fine line of that. But going back to your 60% analogy is so true, is that we have the catapult system. The catapult system tells us when you're full speed and when you're not. So we can go back to practice tonight and we can pull the catapult numbers and we can give a percentage of how hard they practiced today. What it does not take into account, though, is the number of reps, from a standpoint, okay, so I can accept 85%, if it's consistent 85 because we go more in practice than we go in a game, or you should go more in practice than you go in a game. So it can balance out, to where you're close. But what we can't accept is the 40 to 50 to 60% practice habits. And I think, that's what we got to change. We have to create better habits for ourselves, which will make us a better football player. So we have the system to allow it. And in the off season, we've got iPads that are on the weight racks for all our athletes, not just football, for all our athletes, that it gauges speed of the bar. It gauges if you cheat a set, if you cheat a rep, if the percentage ain't right, because I'm just too lazy to change it from 75% to 80% because I don't want to change the bar. It tells us those kinds of things. That's not normal high schoolish. But so we invested some extra money, not a lot. I mean, it's probably $7,000, $8,000, but to put on those racks to tell us that information. And so again, and them kids look at it, they go, "Oh my gosh." This is crazy. But so, and some of that's that attitude. Man, he's crazy. He's pushing us to the limit, and the next thing you hear is, well, we're not college athletes. Well, yeah, you are, because if you want to inspire to be a good player, you strive to get to that level. And I think that's why I've had 256 to sign. I think out of the 256 I've had to sign, 85 to 90% of them have made it. I've had very few dropouts. I've had very few that's gone to a university and not played. And so, and I nearly said something I shouldn't have said about my own son. But my point being, if you played in our system, then when you get to the university, most of those kids, 90% of those kids come back at them and say, "You know what, Coach? It was a lot harder than me in high school than it was in college."
All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the key plays from the Clay Chalkville game. The coach had a nice little conversation with a white hat once or twice during the game as well. We'll get the thoughts on that. We didn't have the microphone down there. We'll see if Coach will tell us what's going on. So we'll take a look at the little exchange between the coach and the white hat. I think it was in the third quarter as well. Stick around, Coach's Corner with Coach Rush Propst here on the River Sports Network.
Heard about Jeff State's Fast Track program? Listen up. Employment in as little as 6 weeks. Yep. In-demand jobs? Definitely. Jobs in industries like IT, medical, industrial, manufacturing, and more. Get an in-demand career in as little as 6 weeks. Why wait? Get on the Fast Track at Jefferson State. Act now. Visit online or call 205-856-7710 today. Find your place at Jefferson State.
Since 1903, the name Union State has represented a commitment to reliable service for generations of valued customers. And with over 150 years of combined experience, our staff at Union State Insurance looks forward to serving you and your family for generations to come with superior value and friendly service. Call me, Drew Alexander, at Union State Insurance, 205-884-1670, or on Facebook, Union State Insurance.
Your exclusive Bobcat dealer for East Central Alabama is Bobcat of Gadsden. And they're a full-line Bobcat dealer for construction and agriculture. They specialize in parts, service, sales, and rentals. And right now they have great financing rates. Bobcat of Gadsden, same-day delivery on rentals, factory-trained service technicians, and they're ready to serve you. Call 256-563-4001.
Great food and great variety. It's City Market Grill and Buffet in Pell City. A great selection of meats, fish, vegetables, desserts, and the largest salad bar in the county. And of course, it's all you can eat. The City Market Grill and Buffet in the Walmart Shopping Center in Pell City. Check out their Facebook page for times and prices. City Market Grill and Buffet.
If you're thinking about buying your first home, then Coosa Valley Mortgage can help you unlock the door to home ownership with first-time home buyer programs that can put you in the home of your dreams. Conventional, FHA, USDA, VA, or construction perm options. We are a local family serving local families since 1996. Coosa Valley Mortgage, we've got you covered.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 198757.
Hey Panther Nation, it's April at Merle Norman Cosmetics, and I'm excited to introduce you to our new venture, Blush Boutique. You already know about the amazing skincare and color cosmetics that we offer, but what you may not know is that we also have clothing, handbags, jewelry, and Panther Game Day t-shirts. Shop local and come visit the new Blush Boutique at Merle Norman. We are located at 1915 Cogswell Avenue in historic downtown Pell City.
Hello everyone, Dale Benton of Benton Nissan. We are proud to support the people we live with, work with, play with, and pray with. We truly care about selling quality vehicles and providing our customers with exceptional service. Come shop our huge new inventory of Nissan cars, trucks, and SUVs, as well as our certified pre-owned inventory. Benton Nissan, serving 3 locations, Bessemer, Hoover, and Oxford. Your friend in the car business.
We're back here at City Market Grill and Buffet as we are at the Rush Propst Show. Every Tuesday, 7 o'clock is when we go live, and then we take this in its entirety and put it into the pregame show as we do that on Friday. We'll talk about the Centerpoint game coming up on Friday. Got a bye week coming up, and then a heck of a trip. Want to take a look, Coach, at a couple of plays, though, from the Clay Chalkville game. Not a whole lot on offense, unfortunately, for us to look at.
One play.
Yeah, we'll look at a couple of them here. Marquise Bedford, I think this was early in the game. We'll watch the replay here. This is a 32-yard run by Bedford as we speed it up. Finds a nice hole and makes it all the way to about midfield or so. Kind of break this down, if you will.
Well, it's inside zone with an insert. No, that's counter. That's a counter play where what we call flag. We're pulling a guard and our sniffer back, which is old fullback, and got a good kick. And he hit the hole 100 miles an hour and picked up big yardage.
Well, that was a 32-yard run by Bedford. We have the first disagreement, I think, right here. Was this the horse collar? I think that you were, and it was clear. We had the replay.
It's not horse collar.
Yeah, and it was clear.
It's a shoulder pad. I mean, what do you expect him to do? I mean, just let him go because you can't grab the shoulder pad jersey. I mean, the horse collar is a collar, so you grab the collar. That's from behind. The rule was put in to keep the pull down from behind and having an ankle or a knee injury. That situation is completely not what the rule was made for. And so, I mean, just because they can pull a jersey, that don't necessarily mean that it's a horse collar. But anyway, they blew that call, and it's the wrong call. It's a rule interpretation that they've got wrong.
And then a little bit later on, I think it was in the third quarter, downfield to the left, got into a pretty good heated argument with the white hat there. And Lance made a pretty good baseball reference during the course of the broadcast. And, at first the white hat looked like he was just kind of, letting the scoreboard wasn't in our favor. And then it kind of got heated. And then it kind of looked like, the home plate umpire and the manager for the baseball team just kind of, bumping chests and everything.
With the Yankees.
Yeah. What was going on there?
Well, he made the right call. It's just the intent of the rule. It's just common sense, and so it's 39-0. If the game's 21-7, 31-7, 28-7, chance for us to get back in it, then he made the right call. Maybe it's 50-50, but you gotta have common sense and understand to protect the quarterback at all costs, because he's fitting to get lit up, and so he throws the ball to get rid of it. The receiver runs an in cut instead of an out cut, so the ball sails out of bounds to the right. Well, you have to know as an official that possibly that receiver ran the wrong route. Now, obviously, if the receiver ran the right route, went inside, and it was complete, no one in the hemisphere over there, you call it. But the receiver was there. He was about 12, 14 yards from it. So by definition, could you call it? Yes, you could call it. But in 39-0, or whatever the score was at the time, in the protection of a quarterback and in the common sense, you don't call it. You just let it ride and tell the quarterback, man, you did a good job, get rid of it, and we'll get you killed. That's how that handles that. I mean, there's no evaluation out there of that official that he would have gotten written up for not making that call. So I just think protection, and look, in the NFL and in college football, that flag's not coming out. It's just not. And in most good high school situations, that flag's not coming out. But if you go and read the book and look at the definition of it, then it would be 50-50 whether you call it or not. So that's the only thing I'm saying, to protect the quarterback, man. Just protect him. Don't get him hurt for the next week.
And now let's take a look. I think we've got the Gitman shook to Zach Duncan 20-yard touchdown catch. Here it is late in the ball game. Here, break this one down, if you will, for us.
Well, we got an outside slant call out of Ace. We're running Y cross with an X pop out of Ace, and Nikita just sticks it in off the cut. I mean, actually, Zach runs a good post ball. He's a big 6'5" target. And, if you get the ball in his frame, chances of him catching it are pretty good. And I think a big player, like a big receiver, can get his body inside of a corner pretty easily based on leverage in that particular route. We threw that route today probably 15 times in practice with him and fade balls. To me, Duncan's body, we got to use his body more as the year goes on. The good thing about Zach, he's got another year coming back. He can make himself a college football play wide receiver because he's 6'5". I mean, I don't care when you're 6'5", if he gets to where he can run under 4'7", and he can go up in high point balls and get better at being a disciplined route runner with decent speed, then he'll sign a pretty dang good scholarship now at a Division I school. So, he's a lot of times people would move him inside to the Y, what we call the Y. But right now I like him at X because he gets singled some out there, and when you get singled and you got 6'5" on 5'9", then you need to take that shot.
Coach, obviously we talked pre-show last week. They had some players, no doubt about it. One of those guys I was looking prior to kickoff, and ESPN's 300. They had him at number 4 in the nation, not in the state of Alabama. And actually, of the 6 players that were around him, they were all tied with that 91 score. So he was among not just a 5-star, but the highest rated 5-star. So, and Adam talked about several of the other guys right there with him, going to Oregon, going to Auburn, and whatnot. What's your message to young men when they play against that level of talent, get humbled a little bit? How do you balance that with them, not letting them be discouraged, but using it as motivation for them to improve?
Look, we've played. I've had teams to play against. We played in South Georgia. We played against American Heritage. That Patrick Surtain playing at one corner, 5-star corner, on the same team. They had the kid that was the All-American at Georgia at the corner, 5-star. So not only was it one 5-star corner, it was two 5-star corners. And I think I felt like we held our own that night, and we played against the Humphrey kid at Hoover, the 5-star corner. Now we can play the ball against him, but the Surtain kid and I think the Thompson kid was the name, the kid from Georgia. I mean, he was three-time All-ACC, All-American. Was up for I think him and Surtain were, they were. For the Jim Thorpe Award, which is, I think, for the best defensive back. I think, is that right?
Yes, sir.
With the top DB in the country, Surtain and he were 1 and 2 in the voting, and we played against them on the same team. So I think iron sharpens iron, man. And kids have to understand that you're going to compete against some of the best. And I'm going against some great players in my career. I mean, some great players. And I've never shied down from playing against some of the best in the best. I mean, we played against a kid that went to USC, a Heisman Trophy guy. We went to John David Booty. I can name you 100 of them that have been 4- and 5-star players over the years that we've gone against. And I think what that does, look, if you throw your hat in the arena to be a champion, you're going to play against some of the best players. And you got to go through some of those players to win those games. That's why they only give one trophy. And in 31 years of being a head football coach, we've been able to win that thing several times, and to be a national champion, I've knocked on the door a couple of times and we've won it once. You got to beat some really good teams nationally too. So, and people ask all the time, why do you play national games? I mean, why? Well, it's the challenge. Why did we play Tim Tebow? First of all, they put it together, and what are you going to say? No, and the ESPN is doing a documentary on them. We've got a documentary on our success of our program. It's, you want to be in that arena. You want to be there. And the people that shy away from that, and there are coaches out there, they don't want to play those national games. They don't, and their non-region games, they'll play puff teams to get wins. That's not me. I'd rather go 7-3 and play against the best of the best, because I've had a lot of teams that have been 7-3, 6-4, 5-5, and make a run to the state championship, with a 5-5 record, because it's who you play. And so, because when you get to that semifinal or final, and if you played those big-time national games, that semifinal and final is probably a little easier than it was against some of them big-time teams, and I think that helps you as a football team.
Coach, it may help you a little. Adam and I had the opportunity to call a playoff game that also featured Marlon Humphrey, and there was no pass completions that night either. As a matter of fact, there were no pass attempts, and I told Adam, I said, if I've ever seen a first-round draft pick, it's tonight. That kid was extraordinary.
Yeah, man, he was a phenomenal football player, and not only is a phenomenal football player, he's a phenomenal kid and great family. And my oldest son, Jacob, and my Dragus they used to spend a night with each other all the time. They were best friends, and the Humphrey family, Bobby and them were just really, really good people. And but there's a lot of good players out there, and you want to play against the best. And I eventually want to bring some of those teams to Pell City. When we get our program rolling, and and I don't want to call some of the other teams, but I'm not going to play those teams. Some of the teams we're playing right now, I don't want that level. I want the better level, and I want to pack the stadium, and people they're going to want to come see Burns out of South Carolina or St. X, or once we get to that level. But then we're a long ways from there. But we can get there if we can get there. But we got to first crawl before we walk and walk before we run and run before we sprint. So, we got to first find out how to win a game. That's number one. We got to figure out how we're going to win game one. Once we win game one, then we got to learn how we're going to win game two and put it together. And then game three. And then from there, once you start winning some games, then you start looking to get yourself into the playoffs. I'm not used to not being in the playoffs. And, my wife will tell you this. I'm not used to having Thanksgiving dinner the traditional way. I don't like that. So I used to, if we did make the playoffs, which has only been about 6 times in my career, I've always punished myself by eating at Subway, and not having Thanksgiving dinner. And that would remind me that you better get your butt in the playoffs, because if you're in the playoffs and you're playing football during Thanksgiving in high school football, then you've got a successful program. And, I love that Tuesday night potluck dinner that the parents bring all the food and the trimmings prior to that Friday night ball game after Thanksgiving. That's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it probably 21, 22, more than that, probably 23 or 24 times out of 31 years. It's a lot of fun, and I've seen it in so many different communities. So that's what you strive for, is to get your program to there.
At least get the cheese Parmesan crusted on top of the Subway sandwich foot long if you have to. Hopefully it's not the case. And talking about that, and we knew the first half of the schedule was going to be tough. I mean, it's just reciprocated from last year. They'll reevaluate, and they'll do new regions and new classifications for everybody a little bit later on this year. Usually about December, it kind of starts leaking out, and then we'll figure out what the region is. I mean, we're in the SEC West, basically. But you take a look at as we go into game number 4 against Center Point. We've played Moody, we played Leeds, Clay Chalkville. We're this close from being 2-1 on the season.
Yep.
Center Point this Friday, and then Eufaula after that. And you take a look at their records, their regular season records from last year. These are the records from last year, regular season, for the first 5 games that we play this year. Moody was 9-1. Leeds was 10-0. Clay Chalkville was 9-1. Center Point was 8-1. Eufaula was 8-2. Not saying the second half gets easier, because you still got Oxford, you still got Pinson Valley in there, still have some good teams in there, but we're finally getting done. Baseball Murderers Row is finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel there, but still got Center Point and Eufaula in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing a 3-0 football team Friday night, and so that I feel like got some discipline to them, and I think they play hard. They got some toughness to them. I think Coach Bates does a good job. Their OC does a really good job too. It don't get any easier. They're very comparable. Center Point's very comparable to Moody, very comparable to Leeds. They're not Clay Chalkville, but they're, they feel like that they're a playoff contender deep into it, and I think that it does not get easy for us at all. And then we're open a week, and then obviously go to Eufaula. But our biggest concentration, and it's been this way since Saturday morning, we got to work at 9 o'clock, is that Center Point. And we've sort of had that targeted, knowing this a couple of weeks ago. Once we got past Leeds, we knew about the Clay Chalkville and what we was up against. So we were peeking ahead a little bit. I know I shouldn't say that, but we were. And I just think the Center Point game is a pivotal game for us. And this is how pivotal it is. I mean, with a win, I'm not saying you're in the playoffs, but you've really taken a major step forward to being in the playoffs. So that's the importance of it. And people are going to say, I can't believe he's talking about the playoffs. But, here's the thing. If you don't talk about it, it never happens. And I just believe you got to pound that in them. And you fight a lot of the mental battles and the psychiatry of the game. And, you have to be part psychiatrist to be a coach, especially when you're building a new program. But, no, I believe this is a huge ball game for us, a huge ball, and it's a ball game we can win. So, now we got to go play well. We can't throw pick six. We can't go fumble, scooping scores. We can't have catastrophic plays that we can't overcome because we don't have enough people, explosive players outside of Caleb and Bedford. We don't have enough explosive players to overcome those mistakes. So we've got to win conventionally. I think we got a great plan. And I don't mind telling you, I've been heavily involved offensively this week. I've changed some things offensively. I'm going to be very much dug into the play card, and I think that if offensively we're not successful this week, then people can blame me because this is my plan wholesale. Where we've collectively done the plan the first few weeks, this coming Friday is Rush Propst's plan offensively. So now, are we going to be better at it as we go because we have made some changes? Yes. We'll get better as we go with it, but I just felt like I had to really step in and put some things into our offense that needed to be put in there, and some personnel changes. There's some other personnel changes that I'm going to make in the open week with some players, but I just feel like offensively we've got to do some things a little bit differently than we are this week.
All right, let's take a quick time out. When we do, as we do at the end of the second segment here on the Rush Propst Show, always do a really cool segment that Lance does. We take a look at some Panthers from days gone by.
Yeah, you'll really enjoy what we have this week. Some guys are highly touted. Other guys don't get so much of a glance when the recruiting days come. And this was a guy that was lightly recruited, played for Ricky Brown back in the early 90s for Pell City, and got just a little bit of a chance with UAB, and you'll see what he did with that opportunity on this week's Panther Legends on the River Sports Network. John Ray, known as Johnny back then, started 31 games over his 3-year Panther career from 1991 to 1993. During this time, Pell City won back-to-back region championships and qualified for the state playoffs twice. Despite being the Panthers' most valuable offensive lineman during the 92 and 93 seasons and an All-State honorable mention his senior year, Johnny drew little interest from major college football programs due to his perceived lack of size. Undeterred, Ray took a small grant in aid offer from a UAB team that had just begun its football program a few years earlier. Johnny started fall camp his freshman season as a fifth-string guard and was ranked 21st out of UAB's 21 offensive linemen. However, Ray demonstrated a relentless work ethic, and by the third game of the season, he was the starting right guard, and Johnny would go on to start every game for the remainder of his UAB career. The following season, UAB made the move up to Division I football, and new head coach Watson Brown put Johnny on full scholarship. More determined than ever, a driven Ray fully capitalized on the faith his coaches placed in him, and like his days as a Panther, Johnny was the Blazers' most valuable offensive lineman his junior and senior seasons. As his playing career came to an end, the accolades started to pile up. Ray's 41 career starts were the most ever for a Blazers offensive player. He was elected permanent team captain by his 1997 team, and after maintaining a perfect 4.0 GPA for all 4 years, Johnny Ray became UAB's first and only player to date to be named first team academic All-American. After UAB, he would go on to earn his Juris Doctorate from Yale Law School. Johnny Ray, class of 1994 Panther legend.
This is Senator Lance Bell. I want to thank you for the opportunity to represent you in Montgomery. I am so excited about this time of year as we watch our cheerleaders, our football teams, and our band as they perform on the field. And parents, I'm not forgetting about you. That's what's great about Alabama. I'm Senator Lance Bell. Thank you for the privilege to serve you in Montgomery.
If you're looking for the hottest fashion trends, then shop Celeste Heavenly Boutique in Pell City, where you will find the latest styles for women, juniors, infants, and toddlers. And Celeste has great gift ideas for every occasion: jewelry and accessories, candles, household items, pet products, and more. New arrivals daily with shipping and free gift wrap available. Celeste Heavenly Boutique, a boutique for all generations.
Hey, this is Shane Ray with Stockton Mortgage. It's that time of year again where Friday nights are lit up under those stadium lights. We're thrilled to back our local high school football team. Their determination, teamwork, and community spirit reminds us what we're all about. We're not just here to help you finance your home. We're here to invest in our future, our community, our teams, and our children.
So let's gear up and show our unwavering support and cheer on the Panthers this season.
I'm Brian Collins with Two Wheel Heaven Power Sports in Pell City. From sales to service to parts, our goal at Two Wheel Heaven Power Sports is to meet all your ATV, side-by-side, and motorcycle needs. And we finance. We have experienced staff and certified technicians on hand in our service department. And we also have a wide variety of accessories, riding gear will keep you looking good. Two Wheel Heaven Power Sports on Comer Avenue or call 205-473-0143.
Let Griffin Laser Engraving help you with all of your custom laser engraving needs, powder coating, and UV color printing. And Griffin Laser Engraving is your local authorized Yeti dealer, where you can find everything Yeti. Stop by our showroom on Highway 78 in Lincoln and see our great selection of Yeti products, Abaco sunglasses, custom trophies, awards, gift ideas, and more. Griffin Laser Engraving. We make it the way you want it.
It's game day, and from all of us at Bucks Island,
from the Loft Tackle Store,
from the team in service,
from the team in parts,
from the sales team,
from the Bucks Island family. Good luck and go get 'em, boys.
Treating our customers the way we want to be treated since 1948. BucksIsland.com or call 1-800-I'm-READY. Let our team help you win on the water.
The Ark Family Restaurant has been a fixture in St. Clair County for the past 93 years. Starting out on a barge in 1930, the Ark has been in its current location since 1955, bringing you the best U.S. farm-raised catfish anywhere, plus delicious shrimp, steaks, and a whole lot more. Stop by the world-famous Ark Family Restaurant on Highway 78 in Riverside and experience the tradition for yourself. The Ark Family Restaurant, where generations and traditions meet.
Welcome back to the Rush Probst Show as we broadcast live here on this Tuesday evening, as we do every Tuesday of game week. Want to thank our friends at City Market Grill and Buffet, always having us out here, and Coach Propst obviously spending some time with us as well, talking about last week's game, talking about the game coming up this Friday against Centerpoint. Coach, one of the things that you said, and you kind of alluded a little bit to it during the last segment, but at the end of the game when Lance and I were talking to you, you were on the field. You said the next 27 days are very important for the rest of the year. We're, 4 days into that 27. And we talked about the second half of the schedule, what needs to be done, and the next couple of games, the week off. Expand on that a little bit more, specifically why the 27 number.
Well, starting Sunday the 10th through October 6th is the 27 that I was talking about. So, I asked every one of our players after the ball game, I said, look, when you get back Sunday, and I asked them again Sunday when they got there, I said, look, do you want to beat Oxford? I hear this rival, of Oxford, Pell City, I've heard about it, and all that kind of. I said, how bad do you want to beat Oxford? Well, they raised their hand, obviously they want to beat us. Well, look, you've got no shot to beat Oxford if you wait to the Oxford week to get ready to play Oxford. I mean, you have no shot. So how you beat Oxford, if you have a chance to beat Oxford, is you've got to get ready starting Sunday. So when we got there Sunday and we had our talk and we got into the grind of this week, and then next week the practice during your open date, the 2 days that we will practice, then the follow week, and then getting ready to go into the Oxford week, that prepares you, these next 27 days prepares you to compete in that game. And my thoughts on it is that, if you can't beat Centerpoint and you fall and compete to beat them, then you're not going to beat Oxford. So that's why I coupled that 27-day window. And I've done this before in a lot of other places. if you take these 27 days, that's sort of that transition of, okay, here we are. Here's where we want to go. This is the time that weather's starting to back off a little bit, not be quite as hot. And, it's time to go win. And it's time to have that sense of urgency to go win. So that's what I'm talking about. I think it's kids think that it's about, okay, I'm going to listen to this music and I'm going to get hyped and, and I'll turn it on when we play Oxford. But if you hadn't turned it on in practice, you're not going to turn it on in the ball. Oh, you will. You'll try to, but it's false. It's just false stuff. I mean, that doesn't really win games. So what wins games is execution and being able to push yourself in practice when you're tired and execute when you're tired and being able to follow a game plan and stick to the game plan and all those kinds of things. So that's what I'm talking about. These 27 days are important, and if we build on these 27 days, and I think we're going to have a decent year, the second half of the season. I really do.
You talked about practice a little bit earlier too, and I've seen a ton of practices of again, this is my 23rd year of calling ball for Pell City High School, and you're my 8th head football coach, so I've seen a lot of different styles. We do a lot of games. Unfortunately, when Pell City doesn't make the playoffs, we'll find another county team. So, you watch the difference between a 1A in Raglan maybe practicing and a 6A in Pell City or Leeds, following them, and to see how the different practices are executed and done by the coaches. And you talked a little bit about that earlier. How does and I've seen it, and it is a different practice. Talk about how when practice is going at Pell City High School on a typical practice day, for those that don't have the ability to get there and watch on the field, what's going on? Where are you? What are some of the advantages that you're using PA system where you're instructing everybody? Break it down for those who don't, the vast majority don't get to see or hear that.
Well, practice is it's the most important thing you do, but it starts way before practice. So we get there Saturday. I'll go through a quick week. So we get there Saturday as staff, and by 9, 10, or 11, based on the game the night before, the coaches have to have their tape graded, and we sit in a meeting. Let's just say it's 10 o'clock. All right, so, and right now we don't even have rehab for our athletes, which really bothers me. And we're working through those issues right now because our kids are just out there on a limb on Saturday morning instead of getting rehab done, and trust me, we're trying to get that fixed. That's no fault of our system. That's just, it is what it is right now. And so, because we changed our rehab associate, so we got to get something built in this town to help rehab our athletes. So that part's a problem. That is a problem that we're trying to fix. So, but Saturday for us is about 8 hours of work for the coaching staff. We sit down, we wrap up the night before. It takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to break your film down from the night before to get it graded and graded right. It takes us about an hour to discuss those things together. So now you're at 3.5. When you break off, you'll take a little bit of a break, eat a bite. So you spend about 4 hours on Saturday afternoon watching tape of your opponent. All right. So I'm a big believer that Saturday afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock, whenever you wrap it up, like I left Saturday about 4 because I wanted to revamp the offense. So when the coaches sort of broke up, I stayed and started rewriting our playbook, so to speak. And then Sunday morning we come in either we're at 7:30, 8, 8:39, or 9:30 or 10, based on who we're playing and the work's got to be done. So let's just say, especially as we get deeper into it and you got more tape to watch and more things to do, it'll be 7:30. We have a preacher come in, does a devotion with the staff, and then we go to work. And because we have a deadline at 3 o'clock. So at 3 o'clock, the players get there for a team meeting at 3 o'clock. That meeting lasts sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes it may last 30 minutes. We go into at 3:20 to 3:30, we split up. The offense will be in film, the defense will be in the weight room for 45 minutes to an hour. We flip it, and the defense will go to film, and offense will go to the weight room. That takes it to about 5 o'clock, maybe 5:15. We have a little break, and then we go to practice. All right, that practice is done and it's not a long practice on Sunday. It's an hour and 15 minutes. Sometimes it's no longer an hour and a half. It can be as short as 45 minutes. But right now we're at about an hour and 15. When we're done, we feed the players. They leave and go home. The staff stays. We watch the film from Sunday. So we sit down about, let's say we walk off the practice field at 7, 6:45, eat at 7 o'clock. Players are gone by 7:30. We're sitting down as a staff around 7:45, and sometimes it's 11, midnight to 1 o'clock. Sometimes it's 10:30. We work into the night to break the film down from what we just saw in practice, because we threw the first. It's like throwing mud on that wall right there. You throw mud on that wall and see what sticks. And so you go and you critique what you just watched in practice with film at all different angles, and you got to decide, well, I don't like that, I like this, I don't like this, I don't like that. And then we jump into it, and that's a Sunday for us. And then you have to have the practice schedule done. So the next morning we get in, it's opponent tape. So the players get there and they do opponent tape, Adam, and then we roll right into players leave, we feed them breakfast, Steph and them feed them breakfast around 8:30, they go to class, and then we sit down as a staff, or some of us sit down as a staff, and we start putting the practice schedule together and the details of practice schedule based on what we saw in film the night before. So, and then that's throughout the day, you're constantly meeting with coaches and critiquing practice and detailing practice, watching tape, and that's all day long. I mean, I don't think I've eaten lunch on a Monday or a Tuesday in years. You don't have time. I mean, you don't have literally no time on Monday and Tuesday. Then at 2:05, the bell rings. They come back to you, and at 2:15, they have a snack, and then by 2:30, they're in special team meetings. Then that rolls right into individual position meetings, into practice that afternoon, film that, watch practice into the night. Monday night's very important because guess what? We've had Sunday practice, now we've had Monday practice. So Monday night, you're going to be there late, because when you get to Tuesday like today, you better have 85 to 95% of it done. I'm talking about the plan. So like when I leave here after this show, I will go back to the field house, and we will put together tomorrow's call sheet, our opening script, all our third down things we like, all our red zone plan. Everything that we do in the game has to be done tonight and put to bed. It has to put a stamp on it. So when we get here in the morning at 6 a.m., players will get here, arrive at 6 a.m., they'll walk in the film at 6:15. They roll right from that. They walk out of film at 7:10, 7:15 onto the practice field, like we talked about earlier in the show, and then they got practice. Now, it's not a long practice, but it has to be fast, has to be sharp, and has to look good. From there, they come back in the afternoon because we've looked at that film, and we show them that film, make any corrections, but it's not a practice correction. It's a walkthrough correction because their bodies are spent. And we ice bath them, we feed them right, we hydrate them right, we go through a lot of meetings, and then they go home at a really good hour on Wednesday. Usually 5 o'clock they should be out of here. As a staff, we're pretty much done too with that week. Now we got a few things to critique a little bit on Wednesday, but normally on Wednesday, Steph and I sometimes go get a bite to eat on Wednesday night. Wednesday night for us is sort of that get a break. You get time to go see your family, put your kids to bed, all those kinds of things. And then Thursday morning, you have your walkthrough. And then that afternoon, we let them go, and they come back, and we go to the hotel, and then we get in the hotel routine. We didn't go hotel last week because of the COVID stuff. So, but everything's good this week. So we'll go back to the hotel Thursday night, because now you control what they're eating, what they're drinking, what, their focus, all the things that, you're making sure they get plenty of sleep and all those kinds of things. So that's a normal week for us. Now, again, these kids have never been through all this. This is all new to them. And so it's still that push. This is what's got to be done. This is what it's going to look like. But eventually, it'll work itself out, and it'll get to where once they accept that routine and understand that routine, because let me say this to you, it's as much of a mental stress as it is a physical stress. Because, man, it's football constantly, we're constantly in meetings, we're constantly in walkthroughs, and people say, I've heard mom say, what is a walkthrough? Well, it's a practice without going full speed. That's why they call it a walkthrough. So you're actually walking through what you're fixing to run in practice. Like today, we had a 20-minute walkthrough prior to practice on things we really wasn't good at, or very good at the day before. So you walk through all the kinks, get it out, and then you go to practice. And so, man, I can't tell you how important it is, and what, practicing the right way is. And people ask me all the time, Adam, how have you won? What is your secret to winning? There's no secret. It's just hard work, consistency in hard work, and efficiency in hard work. Those are the things that make you a better football team. There's no shortcuts to winning. You got to work, and it is what it is. And I'll say this: when the season's over with, take a deep breath, and you start right back over. You can't wait till April to start thinking about football. When football's over with, sometimes in November, hope for latter November than early November, then you give them 2 weeks off. I mean, you give them some time to flush it, their body heals a little bit, their mind's clean, and then you start coming back in January and you start getting into that think tank. Plus recruiting's going on. You're recruiting, getting your kids recruited by universities. So you're pushing that envelope, and then bam, all of a sudden February gets here, the recruiting part's over with for that year. We as a staff start thinking about what we want to do the following year, and then we start actually just basically doing what we need to do to be a successful football team. I mean, you legally can practice now after school 2 hours a week with a kid. So that particular kid can practice football in January, February, March, April, leading up to spring ball. Now that's changed since I got back, in Alabama. So you can sit there and get some work done, man. And so, for that week, and then each week you build. There's no way when you walk on that practice field in spring practice that you shouldn't know what you're doing, because you should have been in enough meetings, enough walkthroughs, enough those 2 hour practice during the week, that you should be able to have all your install done, before you walk on that practice field. Because when you walk on that practice field day one of spring, you shouldn't be teaching nothing. You should have taught that February, March, April. So that year-round mentality, that's the next big hurdle for our program is, okay, football's over with. Some of our kids will go, man, I'm glad it's over. I'll wait next, football will be next June again. No, football starts in January, brother. And so it's that's that mentality you have to have, and that's what the Thompsons have, that's what the Clay Shopwells have, that's what your good programs have. And if you're not doing that, then you got no chance to win.
And you
got no chance to win.
And you were late coming in. All that you just explained wasn't there. For you and your coaching staff with the late hire and everything.
Right.
And one of the things I got a quote here. Bottom line, we have a long way to go. That's
do.
what you said at the end of the game last week when we talked to you. And as we wrap up here, we're sitting at 0-3, a big game coming up against Center Point. Again, a very good Center Point team. And I can't stress enough how it is that the community continues to support the program and the kids.
Absolutely.
And the biggest way is to have your butts in the seat at Pete Rich Stadium every Friday night, including this Friday. Talk about how important it is for them to see that.
When I turned around the other night and saw the crowd that we had, and our gate was not quite as good, but really pretty good. And it wasn't our Pell City people. It was just Clay didn't bring what Leeds brought, or definitely didn't bring what we took to Moody. So, the Pell City people are big time, and they're doing what they're doing. They're supposed to. I mean, I'm very pleased with our fan support and our student body and our band, our cheer. Everybody's pulling their part. And I throw a little bit on our players, a little added pressure there. Look, man, pep rallies was good. So it's our job. Everybody's pulling their weight. We got to pull our weight. And, yeah, that's added pressure, but I'm sorry. Pressure is a privilege. And it comes with being a football player on a high level, Now there's some schools that there's not a lot of pressure to play football, but those are the people that ain't chasing that blue trophy or that blue map, so to speak. So that's in a nutshell. I mean, I think that I'm very pleased with the fan support and the school support. All that's been great. It's our job as a staff, as a football staff and a team, to accept that pressure as a privilege and dig out of this hole, And somebody asked, I interviewed in South Georgia. They always do a podcast down there every Tuesday, and I think I know a few people down there. But and the question was posed to me today is that what about your team, and what about what's it going to take, and all that kind of stuff, and some things I just explained to you. I mean, and I think that it's going to take time. It is, but it's time for us to take that step forward. At least take a step forward better this week than we have. I mean, so what I want done this week is I want us to win with special teams. I think we've got an advantage there this week. I want us to not turn the ball over and not have catastrophic plays, and that way, if we can do that and we execute the plan, that's what we got to get starting tonight when I go back, and in the morning and Thursday, how we can execute the plan, and their minds be laser focused on that, with that effort that we've got to have. When you get tired, you got to push through to execute. And man, it's hard. I ain't gonna lie to you, it's hard. So, but anyway, I think this is a big week. There's no doubt. And I think that if we could play better, and pull this thing out, I think we could. I think our whole mindset will start to change, because I have seen a difference in our football team this week, from a standpoint of that you start seeing a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. They're going, you know what? We're practicing hard, man. Let's go win. And I think our kids are pushing as hard as they can push right now. So hopefully we come out and we play good Friday night. I'm going to be very disappointed if we don't play better Friday. So I'm excited. Our job right now is get our team legs back under them, get their bodies healed, get their minds fresh, get plenty of rest, plenty of good nutrition, plenty of good hydration, and let's get focused on the task at hand for the next, like I said, 59 hours plus.
Coach, as always, we appreciate it. Appreciate you coming. Appreciate everybody who came out to City Market tonight as well. And, again, the best way to support these kids, be at Pete Rich Stadium on Friday night when we host Center Point. and then a bye week, and then a big old long road trip to Eufaula. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on, though. So, all right, Coach, again, thanks so much. On behalf of Lance Bowman, I'm Adam Stocks and Coach Rush Propst and Tiffany Studdard back there as well. Thanks for checking out the Rush Propst Show here on the River Sports Network.
Go Panther.